You are listening to This Week in Taiwan. I'm Eloise Phillips. Every Saturday, we break down the biggest stories making headlines across the country, from politics and economics to culture and the unexpected. Whether you're tuning in from Taipei or halfway around the world, we've got you covered with what you need to know to stay in the loop. China has reserved offshore airspace for 40 days without announcing military drills.
From March 27 to May 6, Beijing issued a series of aviation alerts known as Notice to Airmen, or NOTAMs, covering wide areas of the Yellow Sea and East China Sea. According to the Wall Street Journal, the restricted zones form a long north-south corridor off the coast near Shanghai, stretching between waters facing South Korea and Japan. What makes this move unusual is not just the scale, but the duration. Chinese military exercises typically last only just a few days. This time, the warning period extends to 40 days with no official explanation and no publicly announced drills. China's Ministry of National Defense and Civil Aviation Administration have not commented. Experts say the details of this airspace designation are key. Ray Powell of Stanford University notes the zones are marked surface to unlimited altitude, with no vertical ceiling. Combined with the extended time frame, he says it suggests not a single exercise, but a sustained state of operational readiness. If linked to military activity, Powell says it could signal a shift in how Beijing uses airspace control to send strategic messages. China military and Indo-Pacific security expert Christopher Sharman says the reserved zones could allow pilots to rehearse air combat maneuvers for potential conflict scenarios. The development follows a brief pause in Chinese military flights over Taiwan, as U.S. attention shifted to the Middle East. Officials say the move may also be aimed at deterring Japan and other U.S. allies in the Indo-Pacific.
President Lai Ching-te will visit Eswatini from April 22nd to 27th, his first visit since taking office. Lai will lead a delegation in response to the invitation of King Mswati III, both to celebrate the king's birthday and ascension to the throne. Eswatini is Taiwan's only African ally, with this year marking 58 years of diplomatic relations. The trip was announced by the Presidential Office Monday, April 13th, where Presidential Office spokesperson Karen Kuo explained that the theme of the President's visit will be on celebrating mutual success, focusing on three areas: common good, economic prosperity, and digital prosperity. Both countries have cooperated in areas including agriculture, education, and women's empowerment, with future cooperation focusing on constructing Eswatini's strategic oil reserve facility. This project will improve the country's energy security and sustainable development. Concerning economics, Taiwan will promote the Taiwan Industrial Innovation Park located in Eswatini, which will help Taiwanese businesses expand globally and connect with the African market. It will also create more local job opportunities, laying the foundation for future strategic partnerships. Digital prosperity efforts will centre around helping Eswatini implement smart healthcare and telemedical systems, bridging the digital divide and overcoming geographical limitations. Deputy Foreign Minister Francois Wu explained that the delegation's trip will include meetings in an official capacity, as well as ceremonial events. President Lai will also host a banquet for overseas Taiwanese in Eswatini and southern Africa. The trip is President Lai's first visit to Eswatini as president and his second overseas trip since his election. Wu clarified that the president will not pass through the Middle East while travelling, as safety remains a top priority and regional tensions are still high. Taiwan People's Party legislator Li Cheng has been expelled from the party. The Central Election Commission, or CEC, announced that the TPP has formally notified it of Li's expulsion. Accordingly, the CEC filed a request with the legislature this Monday to cancel Li's legislative seat per the Public Officials Election and Recall Act. In an interview on Monday, TPP chairman Huang Kuo-chang said that at-large legislators must be responsive to their supporters' expectations, fulfill promises made to voters, and focus on serving the public. Asked whether Li had met that standard, Huang said no. Huang emphasized that the issue is not about Li being a mainland spouse. He expressed his support for former Taipei City Mayor and TPP founder Ko Wen-ze's inclusion of new residents and mainland spouses on the at-large candidate list. However, he reiterated that anyone serving as a TPP at-large legislator must remember they are there to serve the people, not to advance their own interests. Li has faced sustained scrutiny over her Chinese citizenship status, compounded by controversial statements, including her recent allegation that Hsinchu Mayor An Kao received 7 million Taiwanese dollars, approximately $218,000 from Ko. Taiwan's government is placing high importance on a newly proposed economic cooperation action plan from Lithuania, Foreign Minister Lin said on Tuesday. The Foreign Ministry received the proposal on April 7th, signalling continued steady growth in bilateral ties and trade. Lin met with Karolis Pilipauskas, Lithuania's new representative to Taiwan, on Monday. Noting Lithuania's upcoming 2027 European Union presidency, Lin expressed hope to deepen partnerships in strategic industries, including semiconductors, artificial intelligence, green energy and drones, to build resilient, non-red global supply chains. Highlighting existing investments in biomedical and laser technologies, Director General of MOFA's Department of European Affairs, Eric Huang, emphasized the nation's shared vision. Huang said, quote, "We are partners with Lithuania who share the concepts and values of freedom and democracy. Since establishing representative offices, both sides have also continued to deepen various cooperations in democratic resilience, including cooperation in lasers, semiconductors, and the financial sector." Following 3 recent trips to Europe, Lin noted the continued expansion of Taiwan-Europe relations. He stressed that amid global geopolitical shifts, Taiwan remains an indispensable strategic partner for the democratic world, particularly by utilizing its technological strengths to stabilize international markets. Following her trip to China, KMT leader Cheng said the 1992 consensus is not dangerous and will only bring peace and benefits. Speaking in a radio interview on Wednesday, Cheng described her meeting with Chinese Communist Party General Secretary Xi Jinping as sincere and modest, saying she felt he showed friendliness and genuine emotion. Cheng said Xi told her that tensions in cross-strait relations did not develop in a single day and require perseverance and patience. She said that from China's perspective, it is hurtful to deny shared ancestry, ethnicity, language, and writing. She said,
"Because from Chen Shui-bian to Tsai Ing-wen to Lai Ching-de, you have publicly said a number of times that there is no Taiwan independence issue. Since there is no Taiwan independence issue, then there should be no Taiwan Independence Party platform issue, right? You should just remove the Taiwan Independence Party platform. What loss would there be? The 1992 consensus is absolutely not dangerous. It will only bring peace, cause no harm to Taiwan at all, and will only bring benefits."
Cheng also said she hopes to visit Washington during an upcoming trip to the United States. She said Taiwan should not undervalue itself or ignore its strategic value, adding that during her US visit, she plans to demonstrate that Taiwan has a voice in its future destiny and cross-strait relations and can set a political agenda rather than becoming a pawn in geopolitical competition. Taiwan and the US co-hosted a Global Cooperation and Training Framework, or GCTF, seminar at the US Embassy in Ottawa, bringing together international officials to discuss safeguarding critical infrastructure from cyber threats. The event drew more than 100 attendees, including diplomats and experts from 20 nations, such as Canada, Japan, Australia, and several European countries. The seminar featured 3 panel discussions on cyber governance, emerging technological challenges, and submarine cable resilience. US Deputy Assistant Secretary of State John Mills delivered the keynote address, and Director General of the Cyber Critical Technology and Democratic Resilience Bureau at Global Affairs Canada, Gillian Frost, provided closing remarks. This marked the first time a GCTF international seminar was held at the US Embassy in Canada. Harry Cheng, Taiwan's representative to Canada, emphasized the urgency of cyber resilience, noting that Taiwan faces an average of 2.5 million cyber attacks daily. Cheng said the government has adopted a, quote, whole-of-society, end quote, approach to defend national security and critical infrastructure, urging like-minded nations to collaborate against increasingly sophisticated cyber tactics. Highlighting that submarine cables transmit 99% of global data, Cheng described them as digital arteries of the global economy. He also underscored Taiwan's Foreign Minister Lin quote, international submarine cable risk management initiative, end quote, expressing hope for deeper international cooperation to protect these vital networks. The KMT is looking to put judicial caning, a punishment practiced in roughly 16 countries and classified by the UN as cruel and degrading, to a public vote in Taiwan, potentially alongside the year-end local elections.
KMT legislator Hong Meng-kai will lead a proposal for a caning referendum that has already secured signatures of support from the entire KMT caucus plus 2 independents. If the proposal makes it through the legislature and is submitted to the Central Election Commission, the referendum could be held on the same day as the year-end 9-in-1 local elections. Caning involves restraining an offender over a frame and striking them with a rattan cane at full force. It is explicitly designed to be severely painful and humiliating. While Singapore and Malaysia are the most well-known practitioners, approximately 16 countries worldwide practice caning or similar punishments, mostly in nations governed by Islamic law. KMT legislators believe it could be a more effective deterrent for child abuse, sexual assault, and large-scale fraud. However, DPP legislator Rosalia Wu criticized the move as exploiting caning as an electoral issue, saying that while harsher sentencing is acceptable, caning is not, particularly since the signing of 2 international human rights covenants under former President Ma Ying-jeou. Under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the UN Human Rights Committee has consistently classified caning as cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Hannah Belinsky for RTI News.
And that is it for this week in Taiwan. My name is Eloise Phillips. If you want to know more about what's going on in Taiwan, visit our website at rti.org.tw/en. Until next time.